For the newly indoctrinated, Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files follows the story of a professional wizard in Chicago. We've started our podcast as a way to help break down the series' most important moments, characters, and lore. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Pubcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 5.15, A Gaze into the FBI. My name is Tansenn, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello!
Welcome back.
Thank you.
And Jess.
Hi. I never left.
Congratulations on being here the entire time.
Every single episode. So far, me, not you. Woohoo.
So it's been a while.
Been a while. Hopefully I haven't forgotten how this worked. Thank you, though, to the guest hosts that were on. Admirable job. No, none of you can have my job. But they were some very fun episodes to listen to, so good job all around.
Matt, Michael, Andreas, Jay, Amber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's quite the list.
Right.
Look, it took like 7 people to replace me. Wait, 5? How many was that?
Yep, good counting.
That is not part of my job.
No math on this show.
Nope. We've already discussed that multiple times.
In a recording upload land, though, you've only been gone for like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Which for us was like 6 months. But
Which, right? So there you go. Now we just have to get our buffer back, so we can be ahead again. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's good to be back.
We'll get this. Yeah.
We got this.
Oh, yeah.
This episode is coming out 3 days after Jim Butcher's birthday and 2 days before Harry Dresden's birthday. So for both of them, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, boys!
Yay! Thanks.
Thank you.
Both of you, thank you for the podcast. It's because of both of you we have it.
Yay! Birthday presents to us. From
Yeah.
you.
We want to send a special shout out and thank you to Mike Socks for buying us a pint on Patreon. By supporting us at this level, Mike Socks now has exclusive access to episode outtakes, our special Discord community, and even an official McAnally's Pubcast sticker. A huge thank you to Mike Socks for his support. If you'd also like to grab us a pitcher, pint, or sampler to get loads of fun perks and exclusive merchandise, check out our Patreon channel today.
Chapter 31. Right before Denton tries to kill Harry, the two lock eyes in a soul gaze. Once the soul gaze is complete, Marcone stops the would-be execution, only to be double-crossed and captured by the FBI. Dresden finds himself in a pit with the rest of the crew, waiting for the coming of the Loup Garou.
I remember the first time I ever read this, it being like a really powerful description that stuck with me. Just the way he describes Denton's soul. You know, this happy, beautiful, like, masterpiece of artwork, and then just fucking crapped on.
Right.
Years and years and years, and just withered away and broken. You know, like, the male children aged to, like, what was it, weary, alcoholic, you know, like,
We've got a quote here for that.
Adult winos, that's what it was.
That a good man, jaded by years and poisoned by the power that had taken control of him, until that good man had been buried, only the filth and decay remained, until the existence of a man who had once been only a bitter reminder that made the man who was now seem all the more downfallen by comparison.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, right? Like, he just starts off describing, like, this almost, you know, paradise kind of a thing, you know, like beautiful green parks and blue sky and like statues and kids running around laughing. And then just the cynicism and the toil and drudgery of a cop's life. Just, right, like you say, yeah, like the kids aged into like winos and hopeless instead of like these I was just like, wow.
Yeah, it reminded me, a couple years ago, I went on a tour of Europe. and I ended up posting this picture of me at the Coliseum, and my caption was like, I've been building up to this moment. I've been in and out of museums across Europe for weeks now, seeing pieces of the Coliseum everywhere I go, and now I get here and I notice that this entire thing is excavated, and I wonder why I'm surprised. It's like, yeah, like walking through Rome is just empty pedestal after empty pedestal after empty pedestals. You walk down roads and things like that, right? And they do obviously still have some amazing architecture.
Yeah.
And they do still have a lot of like, oh my god, this is that, and this is this, and this is... But I noticed, like, when it came down to, like, statues and things like that, they were gone. Like, you literally... It was just empty pedestals everywhere you
taken away
went.
and put somewhere else.
I was
What
like,
is it? Took all the trees and put them in a tree museum?
Yeah.
So...
Put up a parking lot.
Yeah, they're not there anymore, but you can come over and look at them here. But yeah, exactly, right? That whole, like, it's here, it's whatever, but it's just not quite right. It's not quite the same. And I mean, that's a really common theme, I think, in a lot of, like, you look at a lot of TV shows and movies and whatever, right? And he says it a lot, about Murphy, and it'll come up again and again in later books, about, like, her coworkers or whatever, how it's like they started out and they were like, I'm going to save the world, I'm going to be a cop, I want to be a good guy. And then you just see the crap after crap, people just being miserable and horrible to each other all the time, and how much you try
The worst of society.
The worst of society, and as much as you try to help them, and the ones that don't want your help, you're like, oh no, crap, and they're like, fuck you, I don't want you. You're like, well, fine, I don't want to fucking help you then, right? Like, I think it gave us a lot of sympathy, more so, or some sympathy at least, or whatever, empathy for Denton. A little bit more understanding, like, where he's coming from and how he got to this point. And exactly, as soon as someone could be like, hey, you know what? Yeah, your way, the system's not working. You know what? We'll give you a way to get the bad guys and the jerks and the idiots anyways. And it's like, yeah, you know what? Like... yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, there's a quote a couple of chapters back when it's Denton and Ben arguing in the warehouse.
The garage.
In the garage. And Denton he's like, listen, that's not why we got into this, right?
Yeah.
Like, he still has just a little bit inkling there of like, we're supposed to be the good guys here, but...
Again, he's the one,
grasping at straws now.
Exactly, yeah, I was going to say he's hanging on by a thread, trying to remember, like, again, we had noble... aspirations, like, so many villains out there. It's I think it might be in later books. I think it's a quote from Murphy, but saying something about, like, most people, like, don't go looking for power or don't go looking to become monsters or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they end up with some power. And whatever, right? So whether that's, political or financial or whatever,
well,
right?
It's that whole idea, like, hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah, exactly, right.
We are always the hero of our own stories.
Yeah, and this is it, right? So, and I think that's probably why, Denton was already the leader of his team, and in order to be the leader of an FBI team, you've got to have some good judgment, some self-control, right, which is sort of what gave him that team. So it also makes sense why he would be the one.
I'm the alpha.
Yeah, very simply put, especially in this context, exactly. He's the alpha of that group. So why they're like, here, you, right? And so he's trying to control, right? But that's it. Is George and Roger and Dane, like Ben and Wilson and Rogers and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, they all succumb much quicker to it in different ways or whatever, right? Like, Ben especially seems to go super
Nova.
Yeah.
She loses it entirely.
Method actress. She commits.
And very much from the right, like I say, like, she was the first one. We got a hint of it, almost losing it on Murphy in chapter 1. Mm-hmm. And then, like you say, back at the garage there, she's like, come on, Denton, just give into it. Let's go. And then here, exactly, she's one of the first ones to change.
Chapter 1. I remember that so long ago. We've done so much since then.
Do you vaguely?
Not you, though. That was the last time you were here, but...
Hey, shush you.
Hey, you made it right in time for the end of the book.
I made it a cut. Yeah, it was like the beginning and the end. I am the alpha and the omega, okay?
It's like when I did a book report in high school. I read the first chapter and the last chapter, and I was like, all right, good to go.
Bullshit in between. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, but yeah, right. And then, yeah, you see Wilson there towards the end, not far after her, and Roger and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's just, anyways, I just remember being hit by that a lot. Like, it made an impression the first time I read this book, and it still does sort of every time we get to that scene.
Well, the opener of the book itself is kind of funny in itself. The barrel of Denton's gun looked bigger and deeper than the national debt as it swung to bear on my face.
Yeah.
And I had to wonder at the time who was president, and it was Bill Clinton. I was like, I didn't think he did such a bad job.
Well, national debt is still always national debt, though. I don't, when was the last time the United States were out of debt?
America's been in a lot of debt for a long time. You make that joke pretty
Thank you, Hamilton. It's been going a long time. Birth of a Nation. All right, this is how we're going to do credit, guys. Yes, it was. Again, and that's one of the things we love about Harry, right? There's always time for a good quip or something in there. You can't just die. I have to die on a funny one-liner.
Well, and it does say Harry was affected by his soul gaze too, and I take it to be like I like how Harry only 2 books in and he's already weaponizing it. He's like, nobody likes when they look me in the eye. Fuck you, bitch. Buy myself 3 or 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think I've brought this up before, but we don't know what he's giving up, right? So it's really, I think, really telling when he is willing to let people know that side of him, because again, Harry doesn't know what he's telling, but we know from Marcone and from Susan and from everyone else, and as we go through the books even more, we know that what people are seeing is that Harry is a force of some sort,
I don't know.
right?
So far, isn't it 50-50 between who survives and who? It's I'll soul gaze you, but you're probably going to end up dead by the end of the book.
That's my point, though, is that I think for Harry to decide to do it, he's very much been
I can give this up. You're not going to live to tell anyone.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that Harry is you or me are both going to be dead in an hour. One or at least you or I, doesn't matter, right? So I think it's very telling when Harry's listen, what's it matter if it buys me a couple seconds? It'll be you or it'll be me. And if it's me, it doesn't matter. And if it's you, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
And I find that a lot of the people who get a soul gaze from Harry is one of us is living through the night, so I might as well get 5 seconds from you being traumatized by my memories and my soul print
might be. Yeah, so this is one of the things I'm part of me wants to know so bad what Harry's soul looks like, and part of me is dear God, I hope he never ever reveals it, because it'll just be one of those things that's never.
It's funny because up till now we've only gotten really mortals or mostly mortal soul descriptions, right?
Because even ones that have souls.
Sorry, we've only gotten random people off the street is what I mean. Like Susan, she's just really a civilian, she's not magical or anything like that. Marcone is just a civilian. He's not magical or anything like that, right?
Okay, yeah, I see what you're...
Agent Denton, he does have the wolf belt thing, but otherwise he's just a whatever. And up until the last year, he's been mostly, right? Yeah. As we get into this book and he meets more humans, but who have powers and things like that, I find that their descriptions are quite powerful, not to say that Marcone or something doesn't have a very cool description, but I find when we get into bigger characters with bigger roles in this magical world, you get some pretty intense descriptions about what their soul print looks like, right? So for Harry, it must be this universe that people are staring into,
who's, listening, she just did the big mind blown hand gestures thing with that. It's the whole I was gonna say with his too, everybody's a little bit different, that we don't get a lot back. A lot of people don't necessarily comment on exactly what, but Denton here, right, he's you're not gonna drag me into hell, and it's
right, his reaction is extreme,
right, and things like that. And it's just the little pieces like that where I'm that's not the same thing everybody says when they meet Harry. So right, so it's what parts of you interacting with, right? And even Dresden has said himself, or will say, like we talked about with Lucio, and how she sees magic as sort of this different sort of aura and colors and things like that, right? And
different lights.
Yeah, Harry hasn't described, it's the same thing looking at it, right? If Harry were to pop up and soul gaze Tansenn, it's not going to look the same thing as if Lucio pops up and soul gazes Tansenn, and then
either way, I'm gonna
Shadow
cry.
Man pops up and
I was gonna say the way that both your print is perceived by others and looks to others. So it's at one person you might see their favorite book, and the other person you might see their favorite movie, and the other person you might see their favorite song, and the other person you might see their favorite job, and the other person you might see their family. Everyone's got a thing, but everyone who's looking at you is also going to see a different thing. I don't know, the same way I interpret you as my mom, and Tansenn interprets you as her friend, and your mother interprets you as her daughter. It's everyone's got their own their own relationship to you. And so I find that that's a little bit too with this soul gaze. It's the imprint that you get is specific to that person, but everyone's got their own different relationship to that person, right?
Yeah, and again, like I say, just even in the ways that they, right, one might sound and color and, exactly like all of that, like someone might look at you and be like, oh, the first thing I think about you is your blue eyes. And somebody else will look and be like, oh, the first thing I think about you is you're a reader. And somebody else is the first thing they look about you and be like, oh, it's that coworker that always leaves chips bagel on the floor. And, but, not that that's a thing.
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing. It's
You're mixing up
a
stories.
very small snippet from a prior conversation that has nothing to relate. But yeah, exactly, right. Like just
You're mashing stories together.
I am. But there's just so many things that come together, right? So it just, it's one of those things where I'm like, oh, I want to know what, like, deep down in the core of, like, Harry's soul. And at the same time, I'm like, no, because it's probably one of those things that will, like, never, ever, 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 ever properly be described.
Right.
Same with, like, how to pronounce a Faye's name.
I found it interesting.
Yes.
About how... Because Denton starts screaming, I don't believe in hell, I won't let you, I won't let you.
Yeah.
And Marcone has a response, yes, you will. And I took that there's a couple of different ways you could take this as a response to, like the first one is a response to Denton's actions is in the immediate, yes, you will let him live. Mm-hmm. Or this is a reaction to what Marcone has already seen in his soul gaze, like if this is some kind of fate thing.
I totally agree. I think it's a little bit like Marcone is like, listen, buddy, not up to you, but also at the same time, he's totally seeing the hell in Dresden. I mean, this is still very early on. If you have never read the series, you're only reading along as we go. You don't know a lot about Marcone, but knowing who Marcone is and becomes, I mean, he's a very intelligent guy, and he doesn't forget anything. Like, he packs away his knowledge, and he uses it, at the snap of a finger, right? So I totally think that that's, like, right on Marcone's forefront of mind. Like, it's been, like, I think we ended up saying it's been, like, a year and a bit, but then we changed our timeline to say this is only 6 months later. Mm-hmm. So Marcone is only, soul gazed with him, like, 6 months ago. So I'm sure it is very fresh. And I'm sure that in this moment, he totally knows exactly what went down between the two of them.
Right. And it seems to me in a little bit of a way that Marcone is almost, in his own way, trying to protect Dresden. Mm-hmm. Because he has plenty of reason, plenty of opportunity to kill him.
Both
get
of them.
him out of the way.
Denton's not the only one who freezes in that soul gaze. Like, Harry just froze too. Marcone could have clipped them both.
Yeah. Yeah, he could have taken both of them out in that moment and just been like, well.
Yeah. But no, he let them have their romantic moment in the moonlight, stare into each other's eyes across the distance.
I don't know. Again, it makes you wonder. So with Marcone not being like, again, he's starting to get into this because again, evidence sort of indicates that Marcone didn't have a lot, or probably wasn't even really aware of the supernatural world before Stormfront either, right? Mm-hmm. Before, and probably wouldn't really still if like Tommy Tom hadn't been sort of a random part of that
supernaturally
deal.
Murdered.
Yeah, exactly, right. So it could be, too, that, again, right, he's not sure how all this works, how's this going, if he blows Dresden's head off in the middle of whatever. And, I mean, again, this is the thing, too, is like you say, it does always take a couple of seconds. So it's not like Marcone can be like, they look distracted. Oh, wait, they're, But, I mean, you don't know. Maybe he doesn't know, like, is what Dresden can do or what the ramifications will be, right? For all he knows, if he blows Dresden's head off, is at this moment, Chicago's going to go up in a mushroom cloud, right? Like... So, I mean, it's hard to say whether there's any sort of self-preservation or, again, it could just be simply the fact that, I mean, it takes a long time for those experiencing the moment to the outside.
It's only a few seconds. It's not a million seconds. But it's also hard to say for Marcone because even if Marcone is like, I have no idea what's going on, he's not going to admit it or act like it.
Well, no, of course not. That's the thing, right? You never give away what, So, but I mean, exactly. I mean, a couple of seconds or not, if he was coming up on them, he could easily have.
But even still, as the scene goes on, Marcone is like, listen, our deal is that you were going to bring me Harry, not execute him. Yeah. And second of all, the deal is to, like, let the Loup Garou kill him. So and he does still, like, admit, like, he doesn't want Dresden to die right now.
Yeah, well, again, try and cover up as much evidence and things as possible. But also, I mean, we still don't know, right? Like, depending how this plays out, maybe there's still a chance, like, well, let's see. He's been chewed up by a wolf. Maybe now he'll be more willing to come onto my side.
Also true. And it's just that analytical part of Marcone, too. And
if he's dead, he's dead. If he's not...
It's better to have a man ripped to shreds by a wolf than by an FBI agent on my property.
Yeah, well, I'm like, he literally even says to him right here, like, do you even want to use your gun?
Yeah.
Like, let's leave all of this to, no chances. Which, also makes sense and works out well for Marcone by the end of it.
So Denton accuses Marcone of being a treacherous scum, even though he was the one that was plotting against Marcone and about to kill Dresden instead of taking him alive.
But Marcone doesn't know that.
I love that.
He's like, I'm trying to kill the dude and you're stopping me. But I mean, you can tell too, like, how gone Denton is in this and stuff too, right? Like, just he's furious at this, like, oh, you do. Okay, no, wait, yeah, I still need you. I'm sorry, we're still buds, right? You know, like they're all just kind of getting to the
Wits
peak
ends.
of the wits ends and the whole peak of everything, right? Like they're just all.
Harry has that effect on people.
Well, you know, yeah, and
I mean, like, knowing that you're all on a werewolf's
circumstances.
hit list, a Loup Garou's hit list,
And any moment, yeah, and that's it too. He's like, if he arrives, then yeah, Marcone's like, well, we've got the alarms, aka the animals, the dogs we sent out earlier, are going ape shit. So you know what? Pretty sure he's here.
Yeah.
And thank God for our furry friends and their just natural ability to detect.
Booty boo to boo.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So Denton finally shows his hand and shoots Hendrix.
Ooh, yes. When he just turns around, just like unloads into Hendrix, it was like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I just
Hendrix drops.
yeah, just like a felled tree. But yeah, he's just like doesn't even have time to react in any way. He's just like literally the shots like bowl him over and he's done. And it's like, what the holy
Boom, bam, baby, gotta move this along.
yeah. And then Marcone's kind of like, well, that was rude. And then they're like, and then yeah, he gets jumped by like Wilson
Harris,
and
yeah.
Rogers or Harrison.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love. He's like, oh, I do love this part where Harry's like, don't trust him. He's like, oh, I think I'll, do my own thing. Thanks, Dresden. Like Marcone to Dresden. He's like, I shit you not, John. He's like, what a vulgar reassurance. Hence why he's gentleman Johnny Marcone. Yeah.
So Ben detains Dresden with a cruel kick to his injured shoulder. Man, poor
Oh, God.
Harry, he just... one
amount of
kick after
trauma.
the other, like,
so
how does
bad.
he heal?
So yeah, so they all get thrown into the pit. Dresden, Marcone. Hendrix's body, is he included in that?
No.
No? Okay, yeah. So they get tossed into the pit.
No, because Marcone's not going to chuck his guy down there, and Denton doesn't give a shit now. He just killed him, so
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah,
Marcone
Tara
doesn't
and
quite get put in the pit.
Tara and the Alpha
Suspended.
are down there already. Murphy is down there, and then Dresden.
So it's
I think
nice. He
that's-
reunites with everyone. You're not dead. You're in the pit. This is totally fine.
Right? Yes. And
Everyone's
then
alive.
Marcone is strung up over it to dangle there like bait. And even Murph, right? He's like, what? He's like, basically, he's just so sore and so battered and so defeated. And he just basically like, oh, this sucks, and like face plants in it. And Murphy has to like pick his head up out of the rainwater at the bottom so he doesn't drown. It's like, hello. He's like, oh, hey.
Yeah, the two of them have their sort of reconciliation
Sort of.
conversation.
I still
kind of
don't
a
know
little
exactly, but I guess you're not like totally evil, but I don't know if you're like good. And
I always wind up in the nicest places with you, Dresden.
I know, come and huddle under my wet coat. And she's like, what the fuck? And then she's like, yeah, okay, it's fucking cold out here. I'll try and get a little bit, yeah. And Tara's even worse. Tara's just completely, like, it doesn't matter.
She's defeated.
He's like, well,
She
we
is
gotta
just
see, like, maybe we can
crushed.
dig, like, some handholds, and it doesn't matter. We're done. He'll show up.
Yeah.
He's gonna kill us all. We're dead. It's like, but she's got all the alphas, like, in her, like,
Puppies
right.
that are lap.
Yeah, just like their heads all enough out of the water, so they're all, yeah. I know, it's kind of a sweet, it's kind of that mommy moment
Mama
with
West,
Tara,
yeah.
Mama West, like, yes, but not the surrogate mother.
Kind of a spoiler, but I'm almost sad that the alphas like never talk about her again coming forward.
Yeah.
Like they all just are like, anyways, enough about her.
We've got a new leader.
yeah, like they adopt Dresden and they're like, we're your friends now. And it's like, but what happened? Like, guys.
I was gonna say you would think.
Because, yeah, like, it does seem like a very tender, like, it's not like this, like, woman came and, like in Teen Wolf, like, no spoilers if you haven't seen it, because you absolutely should. But the werewolf who, like, turns a bunch of them into, well, the original guy into a werewolf. And everyone's like, yeah, fuck that guy, he ruined our lives, right? But in this one, they're all like, no, like, she helped us and saved us, which is much more like Derek Hale. When Derek Hale started biting people, they were all like, you saved us, because they were all, like, people with, like, a bunch of issues or, like, medical issues, right? So Derek was like, now you're a werewolf and don't have that problem, bitch, give me your loyalty. It was still a little bit fucked up, but at least it was, like, whereas, like, the guy before Derek was just, like, biting people at random, and they're like, fuck you, bitch, like, I didn't want to be a goddamn werewolf.
Yeah, and giving you the option as opposed to taking
Right,
that
so
choice
Tara's
away.
a lot more of the, like...
Well, and the difference is, too, is that they have the control over it, right?
Also,
it's not
yeah.
like McFinn or your Teen Wolves or whatever, right? Where exactly like, oh, you're a vampire now. I never wanted to be a vampire, or you're a werewolf now. It's like, well, right, exact. They have the choice.
They consented to it, and they
consented to it. They learned, and they can shift in and out. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing, right? It's not like, oh no, the moon's coming. I gotta, Oz on Buffy, like lock me up, right?
Yeah.
So there's that advantage too, where exactly it's something they're much more in control of, and yeah, so something she like gave them that they can do, as opposed to being like thrust upon them without.
Which again makes me sad that the werewolves kind of just never talk about her again.
Yeah, I have thought of that a time or two as well. You would think that exactly, even if Butcher didn't have a place for her anywhere
they
else,
could have name dropped her.
You would right. You would think once in a while, like,
no, it's Thanksgiving dinner. We're all hanging out with Tara this weekend. Can't come help you, Dresden.
Right, like, hey, yeah, we're going up to the Pacific Northwest for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like,
we're
just something.
Gonna go hang out in the woods for a while.
Even like,
wink, wink,
this is a spoiler, but like, eventually a little werewolf baby is born. They could have named Tara West Godmother. Just been like, yo, what up?
Right.
Or anything. Or even been like, oh no, Dresden, she died. This is so sad. Or like anything, like, I don't know that she dies or anything, but just
no,
like,
but that's his, like, nobody knows.
Yeah, right. A little bit of a loose end.
Like, hopefully so, but although he does, at the end of this, when Tara is taking her leave, she's like, and I was thinking about that again. I'm like, boy, every time I listen to this book, I think about that too. And I was like, when are you going to go visit Dresden? When are you going to?
Yeah, right?
Like,
it's funny, like, Harry meets so many,
like when you went
so many people, and he gets so many, like, enemies, but also alliances in his back pocket, And when we get to Battleground and Peace Talks, we see where a lot of those allies and enemies all come together, right? But there's a few along the way that he just never goes back to. And it's a lot. There's a lot going on. You can't have, every single person from every single episode all show up in your, like, finale. But at the same time, it's like, but I like that one.
Yeah.
They should have been there.
Exactly, right?
Even, like, we're going to do a short story in 3 or 4 weeks. It comes out, and it's about, Bigfoot's son. And so I was expecting Bigfoot's son to be in Peace Talks and Battleground. And spoiler, he wasn't. I was like, what the fuck? Why not? He's in Chicago. He's here.
Right.
What the fuck, Jim?
Wasn't as big a player, I guess.
Next book, maybe.
It's
like, they're all, at least Tara's, like, not in Chicago. What's your excuse for this?
That's like way back when. I remember, so shortly after I found out about this series, and then, like I say, right, is he was on, like, the Buffy message board and stuff like that. And I don't know if it was, like, on there just because I'd started looking stuff up. I have a feeling he'd popped onto there in the forum and was asking Butcher Hat or something. But, yeah, so this would have been, because I think I want to say, like, when I went to the bookstore, I think Summer Night. So by the time I found out about it, it was a couple of books into it by the time, like, the first audiobook was coming out, right, and stuff like that, and that's where I found out about it, Alks Monsters. But yeah, I remember him popping up, like, sort of like a poll or whatever, and being like, hey, who would you like to see more of in future book, like Murphy or Thomas or whatever, right? And it was all like, I was like, we want to see so-and-so, we want to see so-and-so. And it's just funny, right? It just, every once in a while, I think back on that, and I'll be like, was he kind of like, haha, sucker's good, that's the way I was going? So, or was it like, oh, really? They look like, let me see if I can give them a bigger role, because everybody seems to really like that character. Like Spike, right? Like we talk about James Marsters in Buffy. Like originally he was just supposed to be
the one-off, yeah.
The one-off, yeah. Come in for the second half of that season, fuck things up and get killed. And then fan favorite, like right off the start. So they didn't kill. They still got rid of him. We're like, we have to go. But they, found a way later on to like bring him back and make him like a regular part of the show and stuff like that, right? So it's just like funny. Sometimes I think about that every once in a while. I'm like, some of these characters, we love them. Like, are they still around? Or like we love them more because like we influence that, yeah, we want to see more about this person, we want to see more about this person, or was it just like, oh, well, thankfully that just lined up with what I wanted to do anyway, so glad it was working out.
I mean, Jim Butcher was still early on in his career, so maybe he wasn't quite as malicious and mean yet, but I feel like that pull is like a trick, like, who do you like the most? I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, you like to, oh, I'm sorry, he's dead.
Yeah, super dead.
Like, first chapter of the next book.
Super dead, yeah. It's funny, there's another part too, when I think we were talking about this last episode with Matt, or sorry, the episode that just came out with Matt. I guess when this one comes out, it might have been a little bit away, but we were talking about how he didn't really have a plan for Harry's love interests, and Susan either, and we found that there might have been a throwaway line or two in there about Susan, about her past that just never ended up coming up again. So yeah, it's just small things like that, where it's just like, I think, there was certain times when, yeah, Butcher just had these the occasional loose thread or something like that, which again, it might all come back again later. Like, as we know with these first 3 books, it does come back later, right? So it's like, just because we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Still some opportunity, yeah.
Still some opportunity, yeah. I mean, yeah, we still got like, what, 5 or 6 more novels to go, and who knows how many short stories?
Right.
We're on book 2. You said
No,
5 or 6?
in total.
Oh,
Dresden
like
series.
that.
There's 17 books out, and there's supposed to be like 22,
Coming
23.
another- Okay, yeah. Still to come, yeah. I gotcha. Yeah. So
Murphy and Dresden end up talking
yeah, have their own
and
thing.
have a little bit of a sad moment there when she says she still likes him but doesn't trust him.
Yeah, you're like, Murph, just come on. But
And like I get again, like she does this whole thing. It's like there's too many people who are dead, my men, civilians, blah 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 blah. But as we spoke many episodes ago, this is your fault, Murphy.
yes,
You jumped the gun way more than Harry did in this particular case. I think it's. Yeah, I mean, we had this whole debate already about whether or not it was Harry or Murphy's fault. And I think that was the episode that Andreas was here, I believe.
It might
have been, but yeah, and he was kind of arguing on Murphy's behalf, and I was arguing against her.
Yeah,
and Andreas made a couple of good points, but at the same time, I'm just like, dude, like Murphy, like you're the one who,
well, like you say, right,
jump-started this.
You're the one that dragged this vicious,
Arrested
horrible
a
monster
werewolf,
and brought him into the police station to wreak havoc and carnage.
Exactly right.
And yes, exactly right. Like I get you not really being trusted, but like you say, at the very least, like. The circle traps and stuff back at McFinn's, like how elaborate
exactly right,
and the material, right? Like again, like the chalk circle ain't gonna cut it here, honey. We've got like gold and silver.
It was fully functioning
and
jails meant for him.
Russian
didn't keep
jewels. Yeah, I mean, well, they
were tampered with. Yes,
they were tampered with,
yes,
but
yes,
exactly right, exactly. But that whole thing is that, yeah, exactly. I'm like, like you say, you could put some of the blame on Dresden and not passing information, but at the same time or whatever, yeah, it's like, yeah, in hindsight, was that really the best choice there, Murph?
Yeah, exactly.
In foresight, was that really the best option?
And again, like, I understand just being angry in this moment, too. Like, yeah, people are dead. Carmichael is dead.
I'm going to show you.
I'll put the blame on anyone, right, too? Yeah. Like, I get that. But, yeah, there's just a little bit, where it was just like... Again, part of the reason why I never came back to reread Full Moon was just the contention between the two was just so hard to read, you know?
Yeah, it was. It was really tough for me the first time and stuff like that, too. But I sucked it up and went through it. It's like, I can't talk about that either but yeah, I just did it again and again until, I could ingest it and
just, what is it? There's that meme or whatever like that. It's like, do you listen to music normally or do you listen to the same song 800 times in a row until you've crushed all the feeling out of you and you can move on past it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wait, that's not the normal way.
So Dresden formulates a plan and asks for help getting out of the pit. But before they can execute the plan, the Loup Garou
can't get any worse.
is upon them and recognizes Dresden.
Yeah. Thanks, Murph. You had to say that. Happy? It's worse.
This concludes our episode 5.15, A Gaze into the FBI. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnally's.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.